What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we're here for another episode of Let's Talk Dynasty, and more specifically, a Dynasty trade review show. Now, as always, I have 10 trades loaded up here today for us to review from you guys. All of these were submitted there in the Discord, so if you're not in the Discord, make sure you go join that because that's where we pull our trades from. But I don't want to waste too much time. Let's get MFGDs into the building and let's start talking some Dynasty trades. How we doing, man?
Hey, man, we doing good. We up in the building, man. You know, same old, ready to rock these fantasy trades. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. I think we got a lot of interesting things to talk about today. I think if I remember when I was pulling it up, but we will get into this first trade here. We got Rackin' Saints and Aziz Brady. It's going to be a 12-team super flex, full PPR. And the context I have is they needed running back and had wide receiver depth. So what he does is he trades away Zay Flowers. He gets Chuba Hubbard. I don't feel like we've talked a lot about Chuba Hubbard at all this offseason. How do you feel about this specific type of trade? And I guess, what are your thoughts about Chuba Hubbard right now?
I mean, I think Chuba Hubbard is a decent running back. He's not someone that I would look at as like a super long-term prospect for your dynasty roster. But I do think that he will do well this season. Zay Flowers is a curious case, man, because it's almost like he's not bad enough to like be actually bad, but he's also not good enough to be actually like good. Like we wanted him to be like a wide receiver 1 prospect, but really we're getting like a middle of the pack wide receiver 2 type guy, which I don't think is what we envisioned here.
It feels like the luster is kind of like washing off for Zay.
Yeah. But even with that, Chuba Hubbard's a running back, and I know he needs running back depth, and he had wide receiver depth, but I don't necessarily know in terms of dynasty how much I like the idea of trading away Zay Flowers and getting Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, Chuba's very interesting, man. I have a lot of Chuba across my portfolio right now, and I think the reason why is because last year when Chuba was so cheap, I was buying Chuba, and I kind of just got lucky with a bunch of bags of Chuba that ended up having some really good games for me down the stretch last year and in the fantasy football playoffs. Obviously, the reason why those bags were so cheap was because they added Jonathan Brooks, but Jonathan Brooks re-tears the ACL. Now they bring in a guy like Rico Dowdle. I think Dowdle will be involved. We've had Canales run, these RBBCs before where we're getting these committees. So I don't know if what we saw at the end of the year last year from Chuba when he was getting the entirety of the workload, I don't know if that's what we're getting this year, but he does feel like a guy who can give you RB2 numbers this year pretty safely. When it comes to a trade like this, maybe this is me just hoping and wishing, but I feel like you could probably get a little bit more of a running back than than Chuba Hubbard for Zay Flowers. It feels like Zay Flowers should be able to command you just a little bit more. And I don't know if Chuba's the guy that I would love to grab, but if this is what you had to get, I get it. I don't think the trade value is crazy off, but in a bubble, if you don't need the running back, I want Zay Flowers. I think even if you do need the running back, I might be holding out just to try and get a better one later. Or what I would be trying to do is do what we've said before, War, where you're a contending team and you need a running back, just go buy a vet and get a year of production or 2 years of production, and they're much cheaper than trying to buy this guy who's been a little bit exciting last year. He's still a little bit young. He got the contract. Like, what's the points per game difference really between a guy like Chuba this year and a guy like Alvin Kamara or James Conner?
I mean, when you compare it to those guys as far as like age and everything, I mean, I get what you're saying.
And like the points per game difference is probably not a lot. You might even be able to argue that maybe Kamara or James Conner outscores Chuba this year. Like, I think that's in the range of outcomes. But the difference is you don't have to give up Zay Flowers. You probably just have to give up a second-round pick in 2026.
Yeah. I mean, then again, man, it's weird, man. People values are like all over the place. Like, especially like when you put that name value out there, particularly Alvin Kamara. James Conner, it seems like he's just slept on in general year after year, and then comes out and like puts up a decent like running back 2 season. But it's weird, man. I've seen some people who are like lower on Chuba Hubbard than Alvin Kamara. But I think your point in total is that you probably could get something better if you're trading Zay Flowers for a running back, or you should be trading a lesser wide receiver to get like someone who could fill in similar production.
Yeah, it feels slightly rich from a value standpoint. I get the need, but also like for the most part, I'm not trying to fill needs on my roster in June, or I guess now as you guys are watching this is July, but this trade was made in June. I'm not really trying to make those fill those roster holes now. I'd probably, especially with like running backs, dude, I kind of want to get like 2 training camp at least, so we can kind of weed out some of those training camp injuries that do happen, because we know that they're going to happen here soon.
Yeah. The last thing you want to do is trade for a guy and have him get injured in training camp. That's
especially a running back that has 1 year of production on his resume. But
yes.
it is what it is. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's a bad trade. I just prefer Zay here. I think he probably could have got a running back at a cheaper cost. But let's move on to the next trade here. The next trade that I have here is a 12-team Superflex full PPR tight end premium. Their context is the 211, that draft pick was Jack Besh. So it's Josh Downs and Jack Besh for DJ Moore. You've kind of been a Downs guy. I know for the most part with DJ Moore in Chicago, you've had mixed feelings with DJ, I think, over the last year or two. How are you feeling about this type of trade? Is Downs and Jack Besh for DJ Moore enough, or are you still in on Moore enough that you probably wanted more?
I think there's a lot of what ifs involved in these two players. I mean, Josh Downs, I think, can we just agree that we think Anthony Richardson is cooked? His time in Indianapolis will be coming to an end soon in some capacity, whether that be just his benching or otherwise. I think he's pretty much cooked.
I did a video with Corey Bushland from Stock Exchange yesterday. We recorded it yesterday. And we had a little bit of Anthony Richardson shit fest. We just shitted on Anthony Richardson for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, see, and I think the wide receivers for that in that roster in that locker room, they're probably shitting on Anthony Richardson too, because they know once he's in the game as their quarterback, their production goes in the toilet.
In their group chat, they're in the receiver group chat talking shit about A-Rich.
Yeah. Pun intended. If you're telling me long term, if you're telling me you're getting Jack Betch and Josh Downs, and the quarterback is more competent, even though, I mean, Daniel Jones isn't much of an upgrade, but I think he, passing wise, it would be better for the wide receivers than Anthony Richardson. But long term, you could probably say Downs and Jack Betch, but I think you're at least 1 to 2 seasons away from actually feeling like that, because I do think that DJ is going to be relevant in the Bears offense for at least the next 2 seasons, and then they're probably going to look to turn the keys over to Rome completely. I mean, that could happen this year, but I'm thinking in terms of like how much they produce, I think DJ Moore will be fine at least for 2 more seasons. So I mean, if you need something immediate now, DJ Moore side. If you're looking long term, Downs and Jack Betch is fine.
Yeah, I think for me, Downs is like the flavor of the month right now in the Dynasty community, or it's changing so rapidly. I feel like every week we have a new guy that the community gets obsessed with, and I think this is the part of the offseason where there's no news, there's nothing going on, so we have nothing but time on our hands, and we just sit here and bullshit. But Josh Downs, he's a player that everybody's been kind of infatuated with. I like Josh Downs. I think he's a fine receiver. I agree with you where it's like the situation there kind of leaves a lot of risk, and there's a lot there that makes it where I don't know what Josh Downs I'm getting from a week-to-week standpoint, just because I don't know what the quarterback play is going to look like from a week-to-week standpoint. And if Downs could get some consistent QB play, if they could get a guy in there, like ideally this team is so bad that next year they're, getting Peyton Manning's family lineage in the building where he's going to get some arch in the building. That would be incredible for Josh Downs and Michael Pittman and these guys. But and it would be an incredible storyline, I think, for the NFL. You get a Manning back in Indianapolis. But I think that's like kind of best case scenario is for Downs, we get a productive year this year, and then hopefully the quarterback situation figures itself out next year. I think that's kind of what you're hoping for. Whereas DJ Moore, I do think that the quarterback situation is solved. Hopefully the coaching is the thing that was inconsistent before. Hopefully the coaching now is solved. And for me, Besh is a fine player. He's a solid player, but I'm not like over the moon high on top like of the world over a guy like Jack Besh. So it's fine. I probably am just going to go with the DJ Moore side. I think he's the better player, but I probably do want a little bit more here for this type of deal. But I know that the market's not high on DJ Moore either, though.
Yeah, no, I think DJ Moore is a pretty good buy low candidate, actually.
Yeah, I was talking with Garrett Price, and we were saying, like, not going to be surprised if this year DJ Moore is a top 15, top 20 wide receiver again, and everybody's like, man, we thought it was Romo Dunze season, and Colson Loveland came into the building, and Luther Burden came into the building, and all these things happened, and, well, DJ Moore was just the most fantasy football relevant wide receiver again. Like, we wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
No, we wouldn't.
So, all right, let's go on to the next one. Next trade, 10-team Superflex PPR, half-point tight end premium, and start 11. The context is they had Jaden Daniels, Lamar, and Kyler Murray in their quarterback room. So they traded away Drake Maye and DK Metcalf to get Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brashard Smith. When you have a quarterback room of JD, Lamar, and Kyler, I understand moving a guy like Drake Maye, and you get Amon-Ra St. Brown, it feels like the Brashard Smith is maybe where there's going to be more of a talking point here, but what do you think about this trade here, War?
Considering where Drake Maye's value is in the Dynasty community, I kind of feel like this might be controversial. Kind of feel like maybe the Amon-Ra St. Brown side should get a little bit more.
I agree.
Especially with DK Metcalf also going the other direction. And I mean, I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, you know, and I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is relevant, but I think that relevant. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a stud. I said irrelevant. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a stud. I just think that you got to get a little bit more on there because right now the whole Dynasty world is in love with Drake Maye, and I think that you got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just did a startup mock draft earlier this week, and I was debating between Drake Maye and Justin Herbert in the early third round. I had a really good debate there that honestly kind of has me switching my thought process there between the two of those guys. But Maye, he went in the early third. Like I said, Amon-Ra was like a late first, and this is 12 man. So I assume in a 10-man league, Amon-Ra's like still a late first, early second round startup pick, and Drake Maye's a third round startup pick. So the difference is 1 round probably between these guys in startups. The difference between Brashard Smith and DK Metcalf is going to be double-digit rounds in startups. Like that's a massive gap. So I do agree with you. You probably should have got more. And really it's not from the Maye and Amon-Ra side. It's you should have got more for DK in this deal because it feels like DK was undersold in this trade as far as the value goes. When you have the quarterback room, I get it. Like again, I totally agree moving one of these guys. I honestly feel like in this situation, if you would have subbed Maye out and put Kyler in and put Kyler and Metcalf for Amon-Ra and Brashard Smith, that feels like the money deal. Like that feels like the one that you can make it happen. And the value still feels like it should be even between the two. And then you get to keep Drake Maye. But yeah, it's go ahead.
But you also know better than anyone else how the Dynasty community just really sleeps on Kyler in general. So I mean, you got two assets that are very slept on, DK Metcalf and Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
I can see why in the mind of the person who traded away Amon-Ra is probably like, oh no, Kyler's trash. I don't want this guy. So I mean, Kyler's really slept on in the Dynasty community. Let's just say that.
It's tough, man, because I feel like for years now I've just been the guy that has been on this channel pumping Kyler Murray or saying like, hey, Kyler Murray's value too low. We should be buying Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's a value. Kyler Murray, I hate that I have to keep being that guy, but the market has just not adjusted in like 2.5 years. And every time Kyler Murray is on the football field, he's still giving me, some of the highest fantasy points per game of any quarterback in the league. And so I'm like, he's inconsistent at times, but with a quarterback in Superflex, I'm going to go with the highs and the lows, and Kyler Murray is going to win me my weeks. Some weeks he might not be, the driving force as to why we win, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know. It just seems like he's always undervalued. I was doing a video the other day where Kyler Murray right now is like QB, I want to say he's trade cuts like QB 16 or 17 right now. And it's like, why the hell is Kyler Murray like all the way that low? But whatever, I digress. This isn't about Kyler Murray. I think for me, really, it's just the Amon-Ra St. Brown. I get it. I think it's what you needed. you obviously had no need for the QB and you had to move one of them, and going to get a wide receiver makes the most sense. I just feel like you probably needed more than a Brashard Smith piece, because Brashard Smith, to me, nice little dart throw, late round of rookie drafts, maybe a UDFA that you pick up. I like the upside if you pick him up at that cost, but when you start doing things like this, it feels like now you're like actually investing value into Brashard Smith. And now the upside of a dart throw doesn't make him a dart throw anymore. It kind of means like you're valuing him as an asset on your roster already, which he hasn't necessarily proven to be that. So it's a little bit risky there. But hey, who knows? Maybe you didn't need the wide receiver depth and you just said, fuck it, I need a top 5 wide receiver, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of them.
Sometimes you just pull the trigger on certain deals just because the guy's going to be difficult. Like,
Yep.
let me kind of lose this deal to get this thing done, which is not a good strategy in general.
Well, I'll tell you this. If Brashard Smith does, some people think it'll happen because there's a group of people out there that believe that Pacheco's cooked. I am not that group of people. I've been pro Pacheco this offseason. I have a lot of Pacheco. There's a group of people that think he's cooked. If he is, and Brashard Smith does become the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, you probably walk away from this with a W.
No doubt.
But it's going to come down to Brashard Smith, 7th round running back, the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a tough bet.
It's not a good bet, but
But Pacheco was that.
Yeah, Chiefs got a weird operation as far as their running backs over there.
All right, let's move on to this one. 10-team, 2-quarterback, full PPR, half-point tight end premium, and start 11. Team number 1 is a contending roster, and so they trade away Xavier Worthy, the 107 in this year's draft, and the 302. They got Jahmyr Gibbs for that haul. Contending roster, how do you feel about adding Gibbs to the depth chart?
I feel great about adding Gibbs to the depth chart, especially at this price. Once again, as I always mention, running back for wide receiver trades, I'm usually leaning the wide receiver. But in this particular case, when you're dealing with a Gibbs, a Bijan, guys like that, you have to just bite the bullet and trade for that running back, man. This isn't a bad price for Gibbs at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think having, Worthy there, he's a guy that I think is probably more a wide receiver 2 than he is a wide receiver 1. The 107 in this year's draft class, like a Judkins maybe you're more so looking at like an Puka or something like that. In a 2 QB, maybe it pushes a guy like Dart up the board a tiny bit. It's interesting, but I think at the end of the day, Jahmyr Gibbs, he's a guy who has been one of the best running backs in the NFL since entering the league. He's never really been given a full workload, and he's still been one of the best producers for fantasy football purposes, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think he is going to have a very long career. We've talked about this before on the channel, where it's like that type of play style and that role that they have him in, with him being so effective, it does feel like he's a player that can play until 28, 29, 30 years old, kind of like an Alvin Kamara, and still be a top producer for your fantasy football teams, even kind of like a guy like CMC. So when it's all said and done, man, like Gibbs, I still think he has a ton of tread left on the tires, and I am more than happy to make this deal if I'm a contending roster and I need a running back to help me go chase a championship, because quite frankly, the player in this deal that's going to help you win a championship is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, that's the guy you want to go for. I mean, this deal's I'm on the Gibbs side, man. It's the only way I can really look at it. Gibbs is one of those rare exceptions, dude. He'll age well, no signs of slowing down, can do enough in the offense that translate to aging very well, and I think that you could take that risk. History. Yeah, you could take that risk, especially like, and not to poo-poo on Xavier Worthy, but like he's a decent wide receiver prospect, but like we know there's levels, and Jahmyr Gibbs is in a very high level. If this is somebody like Drake London, a third and a first, then it's kind of just like it's something to really think about. But it's Xavier Worthy, he's like a tier below that. So
yeah, because then that pushes you from like a wide receiver 2 to a guy that we think is a wide receiver 1. So it's a wide receiver 1 plus a late first or a mid to late first. It's a different conversation, I think, at that point. But this one is pretty easy for me on the Gibbs side. Whether it's playing drafts or sweating pick'ems, there's no offseason on Underdog, which means there's still plenty of ways to cash in big this summer. No matter the sport you're watching, Underdog has you covered, and all you have to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite athletes from whatever sport. Put them into a pick'em entry, watch the winning multiplier increase, click play, and win real cash. So what are you waiting for? Download Underdog and start playing today. Plus, when you use promo code LeagueFFB, Underdog will give you a new customer special, which is a free square for your first pick'em entry, and they will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash, giving you the perfect head start to winning big on Underdog. So if you want to support our show and get in on some daily fantasy sports action, click the link in our description to sign up for Underdog using code LeagueFFB. So thank you to our sponsors over at Underdog. And with that out of the way, let's get back into the action. Let's go to this next trade, 10-team. We got a lot of 10 teams, I guess, today. Superflex, full PPR, tight end premium, and start 10. Their context said he wanted some quarterback stability. So he didn't feel comfortable with Caleb Williams. So he made this trade to get some stability going from Caleb Williams, Bucky Irving, and Malik Nabers to Joe Burrow, Tet McMillan, and Travis Hunter. Or you're making a stank face right now. What are we thinking about this one? I think it's more so I see the new Caleb Williams jersey in the back. I see it. Look.
Oh yeah. Just do this real quick. Let me just do that real quick. You know,
we don't feel they whatever. Our community, I guess, them whatever, don't feel comfortable with the Caleb Williams. What do you think about that?
You know, Andrew, you know that this is going to be you knew this was going to be the segue. You knew what you was doing. You know what? I don't know what's transpired in the last, I wonder why he's not comfortable with Caleb Williams. Maybe he's seen a stupid Pro Football Focus article that said Caleb Williams' ceiling is Jordan Love, which I can make the argument that he's already at that ceiling, but it's not the ceiling, it's the fucking floor. And his floor is bust. They didn't even give the person clearly was hating on Caleb Williams because they didn't even give a player comp for what his floor would be. It just says bust.
Okay, you send me the post. I'm gonna just rip these off really quick. It's second year quarterback floors and ceilings. This is the list. Caleb Williams ceiling, Jordan Love. Caleb Williams floor is a bust. Jaden Daniels ceiling is Lamar Jackson. His floor is Kyler Murray. Drake May's ceiling is Trevor Lawrence. His floor is Daniel Jones. Michael Penix Jr.'s ceiling is Justin Herbert. His floor is Jameis Winston. J.J. McCarthy's ceiling is Joe Burrow. His floor is Sam Darnold. And Bo Nix's ceiling is Drew Brees. His floor is Mac Jones. I would argue that Maye, Nix, and Daniels and Caleb have all probably already surpassed their floor comp, by the way, as second-year quarterbacks. And I would also argue that Michael Penix's ceiling of Justin Herbert is ludicrous. Drake May's ceiling of Trevor Lawrence is kind of crazy in my opinion as well, because I think Maye has a little bit more rushing upside for fantasy football. And yeah, I don't agree with the Caleb Williams, Jordan Love ceiling either. I think his ceiling is more of a there's parts of Caleb Williams. I don't think it's too early for me to say like his ceiling's Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer, but like it feels like there's parts of Caleb Williams' game when I watch him, my comps for Caleb Williams when I watch him is he has parts of Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes. I see these two things in his game. So if you can get some mix of that, like, yeah, I'll take a guy who's probably his ceiling is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Like, that's what I think.
Like, okay, so just to touch on this real quick, and I'll throw one more at you. I won't say
for
that
for the record, PFF does great things. I don't think PFF is out here putting out bullshit, but it did feel a little bit crazy that those were just some wild ass comps, I think.
It felt real clickbaity.
Yeah. I said it's that time of the year, man. it's the time of the year. There's not shit to talk about, so let's figure some shit out to talk about.
And just to touch on it real quick, one more. JJ McCarthy, because we'll be remiss if we didn't mention JJ McCarthy's comp. I won't say, and I'm saying his because Joe Burrow is in this trade. I'm not saying his I don't have a problem with his comps. I just think it's lazy, particularly that his floor is Sam Darnold. Like, okay, yeah. So I guess what they're saying is like, okay, since Kevin O'Connell, which we know he's a performance enhancing coach, Kevin O'Connell is the coach that the worst he could do is have Sam Darnold season last season. That's pretty lazy. So
I skipped over the Joe Burrow one because I have said that comp by myself multiple times before I even saw that one, and I'm gonna live by it.
Yeah, see that you see, and I'm not poo-pooing on that one either. I'm poo-pooing on the laziness of the Sam Darnold comp.
Yeah.
So since they want to be lazy, I'm gonna be lazy too and say I think Caleb's floor is probably like Jay Cutler or something. Like since we're being lazy, I think that's Caleb Williams' floor is Jay Cutler, and I don't even think that's a good comp because Jay Cutler throws interceptions and Caleb doesn't. But
How about
I
JJ
digress.
McCarthy's floor is Kirk Cousins? Huh?
Yeah,
Let's be lazy. Let's be lazy, dude.
Yeah, we being lazy. Okay, we being lazy, so we can go with that.
All right. Okay, about the trade though, because we just sat here and talked about these QBs. About the trade though, he said he doesn't feel stable. You said it's probably because the internet hates Caleb Williams, but you're throwing a lot of pieces over here with Caleb Williams. You got Bucky Irving in here, everybody's favorite running back. Malik Nabers is in here. You're getting Tet and Travis Hunter. It's the young guys that haven't stepped foot on the football field yet. I think this feels a little bit crazy. This is risky.
It is crazy, man. Because I'm sorry, I know at the bare minimum, okay, Joe, he could give you 30, he could give you 50, like he could give you any type of like. But we know at least Caleb is gonna give you.
We're not debating that Joe Burrow should be ranked ahead of Caleb, right?
No, we're not. And we know that Caleb should at least produce like at worst like 18 to 20 points. Like he should at least be able to hit that threshold with regularity. My biggest issue here in this trade, honestly, is Malik Nabers. And because I'm not even sure that I would trade Malik Nabers for Tet McMillan and Travis Hunter. Okay, if somebody wanted to be like, okay, Caleb and Bucky Irving for Joe Burrow, I probably would do it because Caleb's in it. I think most people would probably still take Joe Burrow. But I'm saying, like, there's nothing like that offer. I wouldn't say that's a bad offer. Would you agree with that?
No, I would agree with that. I'm sitting here trying to look at Caleb Williams' fantasy points per game last year because even in a bad situation, keep in mind this was a 6-point passing touchdown league that I'm looking at. This is our league war. But he had 17 fantasy points per game in that league. So, like, it wasn't bad. He was right there with Dak Prescott. Jordan Love was like not too high above him. Justin Herbert wasn't too high above him. Like he was right there. So like I understand you saying I think maybe what I don't like is you want QB stability. Maybe you just wanted more out of your quarterback. You wanted a safer floor out of your quarterback, and Joe Burrow's already the safer guy. It's not stability because I think Caleb Williams is still going to be fine. And I think the problem that maybe we have with it is you and I both think that Caleb Williams is going to take a step forward in year 2. We believe he's going to take a step forward in year 2. And it feels like you're selling him before we see the step forward, which means you're not going to get the value insulation once people see him start putting up points on the football field. So for me, it's that part baked into it. But I totally agree with you where it's like you're giving up Malik Nabers. And Malik Nabers is a player that like I have already started talking about, hey, this is a player that's probably going to enter the Justin Jefferson, Ja'Marr Chase tier. Like that is how we view Malik Nabers and Tet McMillan.
Are we being lazy? And are we being lazy again? Just to
No, we're not being lazy. It's just LSU happens to pump out fucking all pro.
I mean, yeah, because
receivers.
Because I'll be completely honest. If we keep going that route, honestly, I already got Malik. It's no starting to for me. I already got Malik Nabers with Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase, and then I got in the next tier down, which people gonna think is foul. Then the very next tier, I got like CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, BTJ. So
I don't think that's foul, and I don't think people should think that's foul either. But
Amon-Ra.
Yeah, Amon-Ra. You almost forgot the name. I was gonna throw it out there. But other than that, like I think that's the part where I have the issue because we want Tet McMillan to hit. We want Travis Hunter to hit. But we know Malik Nabers has already fucking hit. Like he's gonna be that dude. He's been that dude. It's only up for Malik Nabers. And oh yeah, by the way, he did that last year with Tommy DeVito and all of these other dudes throwing him the football, and he got upgrades, yes, I'm saying upgrades, whether people believe it or not, to Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Jackson Dart. So whoever you want to throw into the football game, I think all of those guys are better quarterbacks that can help Malik Nabers excel in year 2. At the end of the day, like, and I haven't even talked about Bucky Irving, but I think Bucky Irving is valued just as high, if not higher, than some of those assets on the other side of the deal as well. So I don't know, man. When it's all said and done, yeah, you get the QB upgrade, but at what cost? Because you just got rid of Malik Nabers and Bucky Irving, who are both being valued as top 5 to 10 dynasty running backs and wide receivers at the moment. Malik Nabers also being valued as like a top 3 guy in the same tier as these elite guys. And
I only see it's one bust in this.
You see one bust
in this deal, yeah, and that's also heavily swaying what I think about this trade.
Okay, speak on it.
People off. I think Travis Hunter is going to be a bust.
Why?
I think it's going to be it's just too much going on there, man. It's just way too much going on there. Like, I already questioned.
You don't think it's possible to play both sides of the ball at the professional level?
I don't. Not and become an elite stud at both. No, like if he wanted to commit to one position and if he committed to becoming a cornerback, I think he'll be a stud, but that does nothing for us in fantasy. If he committed to being a wide receiver, I honestly think his ceiling is like Xavier worthy, like wide receiver 2 type player. Like that's just what I thought about him. Like,
I'll tell you, there are people in this space, there are people that play this game that think Travis Hunter's ceiling is Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that there's people in this arena that might be on crack.
Look, you and I, at the beginning of this draft process, were Team Tet. We liked Tet, man. Like, he was our guy at the wide receiver position for the most part. So I'm not to say Travis Hunter is going to be bad. I've continued to say there is risk with Travis Hunter that I think a lot of people are turning a blind eye to, and they're acting like there isn't risk with Travis Hunter, like he's a can't miss prospect. He is not a can't miss prospect, I'll tell you that. But at the end of the day, really for me, like I said, it comes down to you get a upgrade to QB, but you just downgraded your wide receiver and your running back probably. And this is a 10-team league, so QB isn't as important, and the wide receivers and the running backs are a little bit more important, and I feel like that's where you lose the deal, is the positions that are a little bit more important here.
Yeah, Travis Hunter, he's just going to be, he could carry BTJ's bags. That's what he can do.
All right. I like it. I like the spiciness. Let's move on to the next one. 12-team, 1 quarterback, half PPR, no tight end premium. They're transitioning to a super flex league next year. So they're 1 QB now, but they're going to super flex. And so Spectre Caluso, I hope I said that right, is getting Patrick Mahomes and James Conner. He gave up Cam Ward, a second in 2026, a third in 2026, and Blake Corum. Knowing they're going to Superflex, how do you feel about upgrading your Cam Ward to Pat Mahomes?
Man, I'm sorry, man. I'm taking the Pat Mahomes side on this, man. I don't care about all that. Like we talked about last week or whenever the hell we talked about it. We're gonna
6 days a week and twice on Sundays.
Yeah, the Patrick Mahomes Renaissance will happen. The Patrick Mahomes Renaissance. Cam Ward, I'm gonna be honest here too, man. Cam Ward might be a bust, man. I know I'm throwing the bust label out there today. I'm willing to give Cam Ward a chance though, because honestly, my thinking Cam Ward might be a bust has more to do with he's Anthony Richardson-esque to me. I feel like he's Anthony Richardson with integrity.
What are we talking about here?
I feel like he's Anthony Richardson with integrity, which means that whereas I think Anthony Richardson is not willing to work hard to become the quarterback that the Colts drafted, I do think Cam Ward has the work ethic and the integrity to actually go out there and address some of his weaknesses and be a stud quarterback. So I have hope for Cam Ward, but I'm not going to act like he's like a can't miss prospect. This is a bad quarterback draft for a reason. Like he's definitely not can't miss. So I mean, like I think a good outcome will be Cam Ward becoming a dependable quarterback that's not a stud but also not a bust. I think that would be a good outcome for him. Unfortunately, in the context of this trade, that's nowhere near good enough to be trading for no Patrick Mahomes. Like, I'm sorry. It's not. Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's just you're transitioning to Superflex. I think you caught one of your league mates here in the dark and they don't understand Superflex value. I think that's just really what happened is you end up grabbing Patrick Mahomes, who, whether people like it or not, is still one of the top startup picks that you can make in Superflex drafts, and Cam Ward, who is still very much a dart throw in a weaker quarterback class, like you said. And at the end of the day, I'm getting the best QB. Oh, by the way, you're throwing me the best running back in the deal too, and James Conner. We didn't even talk about it, but I give you a second, a third, and Blake Corum. Not even a chance that I'm even considering the other side. Had this trade, I'm sorry, Donnie Bobby, but had this trade hit my inbox, I'm smashing decline so fucking fast and telling you to please piss off because I'm not accepting this deal.
Yeah.
What are we laughing for?
I'm just
Donnie Bobby.
I'm sorry, Donnie Bobby.
Sorry,
And
Donnie Bobby Jr.
I immediately start thinking of Ricky Bobby. I don't know why, man.
It is what it is.
But yeah,
God
man, I
damn.
think we're on the same page here, man. Like, and I'm sorry if you guys feel like I went too hard on Cam Ward. I mean, if you
Don't
guys
apologize. Say that shit with your
you guys
chest, bro.
upset about it, just go in the comments and say that I always have dumb takes and that Andrew needs to replace me. Feel like that. But that's just where I'm at, man. And it's a lot of cope in the Dynasty community. And y'all can't sit up here and act like Cam Ward is like a can't miss prospect, dude. Like not no Patrick Mahomes. Come on, dog. Patrick Mahomes, we talking about. I think people just got Mahomes fatigue.
Yeah, and that's probably the worst type of fatigue to have. All right, let's move on to the next trade here. The next trade that we're going to go to is this 10-team Superflex full PPR start 9. It is a rebuilding roster here. And yeah, you might have to take them damn glasses off because we're trading Kyren Williams, Kenneth Walker, and a 28 third for Isiah Pacheco, a 26 first, a 27 first, and a 28 first. So yeah, for the foreseeable future, about as far as you can possibly go on the sleeper app of first round picks, I'm giving you all of them for this this package of Kyren Williams and Kenneth Walker. So what do you think about that in a rebuild?
I'll tell you this right now. If that trade would have happened, which it wouldn't have happened in one of our leagues because you're the commissioner, but let's say hypothetically everybody paid out 2028 season. If this trade would have happened,
don't say I would have vetoed because I don't veto.
I'm not gonna say you would have vetoed it, but I'm telling you that most of the league would have been asking you to veto this trade.
We would have had league riots.
Yeah, bro, you traded. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, I could say Kyren Williams for 1 first is fine. I'm down with that. I'm down with Kyren Williams for 1 first. But when you trade the 27 first, which we all know how we feel about the 27 draft, you're trading a 27 first and a 28 first, which I don't even know if even Andrew has players projected all the way out to 28.
No, I don't.
Kenneth Walker, is he worth a second? And then you trade Pacheco.
Kenneth Walker is like, he's like one of those players that I feel like is weird, where it's like you probably want a first for him, but most people probably will want to give you a second. So it's like you're stuck in this limbo range of like, you're never going to get what you want, but you're never going to get what he's worth either. Like you're just stuck with Kenneth Walker.
Tell me if this statement is true. Kenneth Walker is worth a first if you're trading Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker together.
Absolutely. You easily get the first.
Okay. So those two players combined equals a first. Unfortunately, I don't see Zach Charbonnet in this deal. So I can't justify a second first being given. Furthermore, I can make the argument, and I know you'll agree with it, that you probably could get similar production from Isiah Pacheco for Kenneth Walker. And you traded him away.
I think the production value is probably similar. The dynasty value is so skewed at the moment that people are treating Pacheco like he's chopped cheese, but it does feel like when they're both on the football field, Pacheco's probably going to give me somewhat similar points.
You know what, man? The person who got all those first round picks, he submitted this trade, didn't he?
Yeah, he's the rebuilding roster that just got 3 fucking first round picks.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing. You filed for that, bro. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was like, I'm just finesse this dude. I'm finna go put this in Let's Talk Dynasty and brag about it. Yeah, you did finesse him. Exactly what you was doing. I don't know if you were trading. It's either one or two people you were trading in this deal. You either trading a child or you're trading one of your league's mates' girlfriends who just got in the league to fill a spot, and her boyfriend, her significant other, did not give her advice on this trade. Those are the only two type of people that you could have been trading to get a running back that's similar to the one you gave away and 3 first. You're basically getting 3 firsts for Kyren Williams. That's insane.
Even if first of all, that also sounds like you was just speaking from experience right there. But it feels like when I'm looking at this trade, if I want to chop it up the most, I will try and make it the most positive, optimistic look of like, let's just try and think this way. Kyren for a first, one of the probably, let's say 28 first, and Pacheco for Kyren Williams. Sure, fair, whatever, don't care. Kenneth Walker for 1 first, fine. But even then, if you look at it that way, we're sitting here left with a first round pick for a third round pick 3 years in the road, or 3 years down the road. Where the fuck did that come from? Like we're we're disconnected here by almost a total first round pick in value. And props, I mean, round of applause for the rebuilding team to sit here and move two running backs in a rebuild for probably 3 firsts plus. He said as the context, he's also going to move Pacheco. You move Pacheco for a second round pick, or you wait until in season when he's actually scoring points, and then all of a sudden another sucker in the league gives you a first round pick, and you move these guys for 4 firsts or 3 firsts and a second. Round of applause. The rebuild's going to go incredible because you're playing in a league with some idiots. That's just it's just the way it is, and you're making money here. So congratulations, but we're disconnected here in value. This feels like somebody who maybe felt like they were close to a championship and said, I'll sell the future and just try and go run at it. But this also feels like somebody I'd be watching, because if shit goes bad in the next year or two, they might be trying to leave the league and they have no first round picks.
Exactly, man. I guess we can give the person who submitted the trade a little bit of respect for hiding the names, because yeah, man, you definitely did them. You pulled up and you did them dirty.
That was we were throwing it back to the other week. That's the shiesty. He put the shiesty on, bro, and that's what happened, man. Whatever. Let's move on to the next trade. 12-team super flex, full PPR, tight end premium, and start 10. He wanted to down tier his quarterback to get some extra depth at the running back position. So he moves Joe Burrow, Josh Downs, and Alvin Kamara. And he gets Drake Maye, Chase Brown, Travis Etienne, and Dalton Kincaid. Looking at the down tier option, obviously the one we talked about earlier was up tiering to Joe Burrow from Caleb Williams. Now you're down tiering from Joe Burrow to Drake Maye. Is the added pieces here of Chase Brown, Etienne, and Kincaid, is that worth the down tier from Burrow to you?
Not to me. No, I would have just kept what I had. I would have just kept Burrow, Kamara, and Downs, to be honest. I mean, Travis Etienne, he's damn near cooked to me. Dalton Kincaid, while I won't say he's cooked, I will say he's not what I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, I'll say that. Be what we thought he was.
Yeah. And then Chase Brown, we're talking about Chase Brown, Alvin Kamara at the cost of, I'm just sticking with Alvin Kamara if I'm down tiering from Burrow. Yeah. So that's where I'm at on that. The assets that he got back for the down tier wasn't good enough. And that's not good enough depth either.
When I look at this, going from Burrow to Maye, it feels fine. I feel the same way that I felt with the Caleb, where it's I don't feel like the points per game difference is as drastic as people make it feel like it seems. Keep in mind, Burrow's coming off of a year where he was fantasy football gold mine. That's probably not going to happen every single year. Now, that said, they also have a horrible defense this year, so they probably could do it again. But it just feels like those types of seasons, they come in waves, right? It's very hard to be consistent doing that. So maybe a tiny bit of small regression from Joe Burrow, a step forward with Drake Maye in year 2, now that they have Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, Trevion Henderson in the offense, Josh McDaniels calling plays. I see an argument here where you take the Chase Brown, the Etienne, and the Kincaid side and run with it. Now, that said, though, you said you're out on Etienne. I am in on buying Etienne at the moment.
Etienne?
Yeah, I'm ETN. That's what I am right now. I'm trying to get Etienne on every roster because it just feels like he is being valued at his floor at the moment. Last year was running back 30, 35, 34, something like that. And he's being drafted right now as running back 30 in best ball drafts, in redraft leagues and things like that. People are done with ETN. So it feels like you're drafting him at the floor. Worst case scenario, you get last year's, and then he moves on to a new team and becomes a guy for a new team. I'm just buying the dip here. Chase Brown, I've been, a little bit not critical of Chase Brown, but I've been cautious of Chase Brown. I've talked about my fears of some risk there with Chase. I think when it's all said and done, it is shaping up for Chase Brown to have a year here where he could be the guy for the Bengals and really perform. But I still don't love the long-term longevity type of thing there. But I just think he outscores Kamara and he outscores Downs. He's probably the second. When you take the QBs out, he is the highest scoring asset, I think, for 2025. I'm going the Maye, the Chase Brown, the Kincaid, and the ETN side here.
I don't blame you for that. I lean the other side, but this probably means it's more closer to a fair deal than unfair.
Yeah, it's definitely not a Pacheco it's not definitely 3 firsts and Pacheco. That's not what it is. But
I know it'll be a probably a pain in the ass ass, man. But I'm feeling like we probably need a best and worst trades, dynasty trades of the year show, like at the end of the season or something. Like, because that one, I'm really curious to see how high up in the rankings that one gets, man.
That would be fun. Is to try and find like our top 10 worst trade reactions and our top 10 best trade reactions like throughout the year. That'd be interesting. But yeah, we'd have to go back and watch a shit ton of trade shows. But let's move on to the next one. Oh my, this is very similar in a way. 12 team super flex, half PPR, start 8. Team 1 has Jahmyr Chase and BTJ. They have now traded Devonta Smith, a first round pick in 2026, and 2 first round picks in that coveted 2027 class. They get Puka Nacua, a 28 second and a 27 third. We love Puka Nacua on this channel. At least I do. I love Puka Nacua. I think he's an elite wide receiver. But is he worth 2 27 first round picks, a 26 first round pick, and Devonta Smith?
Hell no, he ain't worth that, man. Come on now.
Tell me why.
Puka is a stud. Puka is a stud. If you wanted to tell me that you trading Devonta Smith and a first for Puka Nacua, I'm down with that. Man, when you throw them 227 first in there, I'm not down with that. I'm not down with that at all, sir. Especially if one of those 27 first ends up being the kid from Ohio State. Then I'm supremely not down with that.
Well, I think that if you want Jeremiah, I think you're going to have to probably land the 101 that year.
Yeah, dude. I just can't rock that. This ain't as bad as that Pacheco trade, but this is up there. This is up there.
And it's not as bad because you're actually getting a stud in Puka, and it's a wide receiver. It's not a running back. Yeah. I'm curious. So I'm like, I want to say this feels kind of like a keep trade cut calculator trade in a way. So I'm curious because I'm putting this into the calculator just to see what it tells you you should be able to get.
It can't be because keep trade cut overvalues first round picks.
Brother, you want to know what it says you should be able to get for Devonta and 3 first?
What?
Puka and Nico Collins, Puka and Justin Herbert, Puka and Trey McBride, Puka and Bo Nix. Like, you're looking at a package of that for the 3 first in Devonta. Obviously that's just calculator, so it ain't gospel. But if your league uses stuff like that, this is a significant overpay. I think I'm with you where like even 1 or 2 firsts, maybe Devonta a first and a second, like I'm okay for Nacua. I don't love the idea where it feels like people are like okay to go in there and say, hey, well, I'm getting a second round pick thrown back. Like the difference between a first round pick and a second round pick in dynasty rookie drafts is massive.
2028 seconds.
Yes, it is a massive difference in the hit rates and the talent that you can get in a second round and a first round. Now, I'm going to make the case here for the Puka Nacua side, because when you look at the scoring and the league settings, start 8, you only get to plug 8 players into this lineup, and it's a super flex, so 2 of them are probably quarterbacks already, so that means you get 6 total flex plays. A Puka Nacua is going to go crazy in that type of format. It's a very shallow type of format, so studs matter, depth doesn't matter. You could argue that you are moving depth pieces, however, like you said, 27 you land a Ryan Williams, or you land a Jeremiah Smith, or you land an Arch Manning, or you land any of these motherfuckers over the next 5 years. It feels like, or I guess any of the next 2 to 3 years here. Like, there's a lot of talent coming out in 2027. There's a lot of talent every year. People are telling you right now that 26 sucks. People are telling you the 26 draft class sucks. There's going to be players in that class we all want. I'm telling you right now. And at the end of the day, it feels like a lot. I love Puka. I couldn't get myself to personally give somebody 3 firsts in Devonta Smith to upgrade to Puka. And maybe you can look at me and say, Andrew, you play timid, you play scared. I also win championships, and it's not because I'm giving away all of my first round draft capital.
Yeah.
War, am I lying?
No, you're not.
You play in leagues with me, and I keep ripping off these championships, bro. And it's not because I'm giving away all of my draft capital.
Honestly, I can't even remember an instance of you trading away a first round pick. I can't think of one instance.
I did it last year. I traded JSN and a first. It was a bad trade, but I traded JSN and a first for Christian McCaffrey and who was it? Can't remember the other guy. And maybe that's not a good sign there that I can't even remember who it is.
Bro. I don't know where you was going with that.
Yeah, wasn't good. But I traded a first last year. It didn't work out well for me. Maybe that's a reason why I don't trade these first round picks. But I got a little over my skis in that league. I'll tell you what, I was trying to beat Andy. I wanted Andy to lose so bad that I was willing to ship a first round pick out to try and make a run. And Christian McCaffrey looked like he was about to have a good back half of the season. Then he got hurt again. God damn it.
It happens.
I got over my skis. I'll tell you what, it ain't happening again. But I also think I got one over on Andy this offseason when he traded me Pat Mahomes for dirt cheap. He traded me Pat Mahomes and T. Higgins. So I took some of those players off his roster. He's going to have to see me again in the championship. But when it's all said and done, like I said, I'm personally not giving 3 firsts and Devonta to go get Nacua. I just feel like it's rich. It's very rich. And you have Chase and BTJ, and you only get to start 6 of these guys. Like I said, it's shallow, right? Like you only get to start 6 of those players outside of the 2 QBs and the quarterback in the super flex position. Are you going to be like having to make lineup decisions every week between Nacua, Chase, and BTJ? Like, are you going to have to make those lineup decisions and one of them has to hit the bench potentially because you have to start 2 running backs and a tight end? That's going to suck.
Yeah, that is going to suck.
So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see the rosters, but yeah, I'm taking the Nacua side here. I mean, the Devonta Smith side here, not the Nacua side. Let's go to this trade. I think this is the last one in today's video. 12-team, super flex, full PPR, tight end premium, and start 10. Team number 1 is rebuilding. So the rebuilding roster trades away Ashton, Jeanty, Ricky Pearsall, Jamison Williams, and a second-round pick in 2026. They get Rome Odunze, Tet McMillan, Kyle Williams, and 2 first-round picks in 2026 and in 2027. Jeanty, excuse me, Jeanty is the 101, but is this enough?
I don't think we've ever had an instance where it was just like 3 shit trades in a row. It's like a complete shit show. Odunze, McMillan, Williams, which, you know, and the 26th first, the 27th first. I'm trading the 27th first.
He said stop trading those away, dude.
For what amounts to, and this is not to crap on Jahmyr, Pearsall, and whatever with the second. It's not enough, man. Ashton Jeanty, okay, he's still a running back. I can make the argument that as good as Jeanty is, I could see a scenario where Odunze and Tet are more profitable than Jeanty. I've definitely taken both of those guys over Jahmyr and Pearsall. Kyle Williams, he's a good dart thrower, but then you got the 2 first in there. That's just insane to me, man. I'm taking the side with all the wide receivers and the first and the 2 first. I don't give a damn about Jeanty in this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jeanty, obviously everybody has him as the 101, but like Tet McMillan, still a valuable draft pick in this year's class. I think Rome Odunze, had he been in this draft class, he would have been the 101. That's just my humble opinion. A lot of people probably are not going to agree with that, but I think Odunze is the best wide receiver in the 2025 class had he stayed at Washington. The end of the day, though, like if you want to cut this up any type of way, let's just say Tet and Odunze for JMO and Jeanty. Let's just say that that's for all extensive purposes even. You're then looking at Pearsall in a second for Kyle Williams and 2 firsts. Which side are you taking there? I'm taking 2 firsts and Kyle Williams instead of Pearsall. So like that's just kind of the way that I would chop it up, and I would try and cut that up and decipher that if it hit my inbox. But in a rebuild too, like we're not even talking about the strategy part of it. That was just the value side of it. In a rebuild, Jeanty doesn't do you any good in a rebuild. I said it this offseason. I said it during your rookie drafts. If you are a rebuilding team and you are not looking to put the icing on the cake right now, because Jeanty is an icing on the cake type of pick. You'd rebuild. Hopefully adding Jeanty to the roster makes you a contender. You need to really look at your roster and say, if Jeanty doesn't make me a contender this year, I probably should sell the 101 because people will pay for it and people will come get Jeanty and I can get a lot more. This makes a ton of sense because you get the wide receivers in Tet and Rome. You get the first round picks over the next 2 years, one of them being the coveted 2027 class, and people are going to say we're overrating the 2027 class already. I'm just telling you that class is going to be probably very reminiscent of, I would say, like 2020s with Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and Justin Herbert. Like it's going to be a class like that in my opinion. You're going to get dynasty cornerstone assets littered through the first round of 2027. Outside of that though, like I just can't cut it up any other way. You rebuild, you don't need Jeanty. If you're contending, fine. But even then you're overpaying for Jeanty right now. And I don't know if I'm doing it. I mean, you've even heard my opinion of like, I think Jeanty's overvalued for 2025 right now. I think everybody who thinks he's a top 5 running back immediately touching the football field, I don't know. I'm nervous about that. So love him in Dynasty. if you're a contending roster, like if you were a contending team that traded for the 101 and you were able to get Jeanty on a roster, I love it for you. But he's a unique player that I feel like you have to have a very unique situation to have on your roster. Otherwise, his value is so high that it just makes sense to move off of him already.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself, to be honest.
All right.
Trade them running guys if you rebuild and trade those running backs. Do that.
There you have it. That is the last trade there, War. Before we get out of here, kind of a crazy end to the first round picks flying off the board in the last couple. It's just first round pick mania. But that is 10 trades submitted in the Discord by you guys. Gonna keep pumping these out every single week, so make sure you guys go into that Discord if you're not in there already. Submit more Dynasty trades. I saw yesterday, every time I pull the trades, I put a note in there that says like everything above this has been submitted. Anything below this will be on the next episode. I posted that message yesterday. Like 7 trades came through immediately, so I know we're loaded up for the next trade show already. Make sure you guys go get those in there just so you have a chance. But nothing else for you. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you do all that good stuff. We appreciate that. But War, if they want some additional content, I know you and I were both working on some videos before we started recording this. Where can they catch you at and what can they find?
You could check me out, check us out, Crimson Mask Pro Wrestling. We post pro wrestling content. We post pro wrestling shorts. Check out our shorts, like the video, subscribe to us. We're on the road to 5,000. Crimson Mask Pro Wrestling with an attitude.
Hell yeah. Nothing else for you guys today. We'll see you on the next one. I think this one you guys are actually, I'm not even gonna. We're recording a week in advance now, so it's so hard for me to keep track of what they're seeing and what they're not seeing. So we'll see you when we see you on the next one. Peace out.